Hello, I'm Papa Biceps, you're watching the Touring YouTube channel, and remember, don't fight with Papito.
Right, I'm here for another episode in my Reflections series, and this one's a little bit of an unusual one because it's going to be with Dead from MiBR, and obviously, even though actually, as you guys will find out, he was once upon a time a Counter-Strike player, now he's better known as a manager, and so some of the interview will be kind of about, as opposed to, you know, necessarily what happened in a tournament, maybe how did players come to get signed or not signed, as the case may be, if you know the story of MiBR, and some of the amazing names that didn't actually join the team in the end. So let's start out, Dead. As I hinted at there, a lot of people won't know this, because I always tell people about the Brazilian Counter-Strike 1.6 scene, that even though, yeah, people only knew MiBR, or maybe they knew G3X, and then later on, you know, the Firegate, you know, there's a couple of teams, basically the best team each time that people knew. A lot of people didn't understand how deep the Brazilian scene was. I mean, I famously remember that story that before the MiBR team that won ESWC, they wouldn't even have been MiBR if they didn't win like a tournament where they had to play another MiBR team to decide who was like the ultimate MiBR team and go. So the point is, if you had qualifiers, if you had regional LAN tournaments, there might be like 30 teams turning up who had a whole bunch of players who were all in the scene, who were all active. Now, I saw that back in 1.6, you were playing actually in a team with Zews, a team called Yeah. How serious was it? Was it like semi-pro level? Did you guys, were you aiming to try and be like MiBR type players?
Hello. Thanks for the opportunity, the invite, first of all.
Sure.
Okay, let's go back to the 1.6 times that I used to play. Like you just said, in Brazil was like this. I remember back in the day, you used to have like qualifiers for WCG, ESWC, and for the final qualifier, it would be like 32 teams from every region in Brazil, right? Okay. And besides that, just to be the team from your state, for your region, in order to get there, you need to go to like 2 or 3 qualifiers. So we're talking a contest that Brazilians like playing, trying to qualify for WCG at the time, was like almost 240 teams just playing to get the spot, right? Back in the day, me and Zeus, we've been playing together, or even like, you know, being friends together for almost 20 years, right? We used to play a team called Yeah. Nowadays, even is like our one organization that we actually keep in Brazil to develop like people there. Oh, so we used to have League of Legends. We have Rainbow Six. We used to have CS:GO. We're gonna go back to CS:GO right now. Like we develop players for Rainbow Six, a bunch of players for Rainbow Six because it's a little bit easier to work. CS:GO, we developed a little some players. Shanji from ENTZ, he came from Yeah. He came from Yeah. And we try to develop these players, and now at the stage we're getting right now, CS:GO in Brazil is not that really good to work on it. But let's go back. Before, we used to have a lot of teams. We were between top 3, top 4 in Brazil. But the problem is like this: 1.6 in Brazil, we used to have G3X and MiBR, and another team that actually were better than both. Called
Game Crashers.
Yeah,
from
they
FNATIC.
Were way better. Yes. Yeah, they used to develop tons of talent right there, but they were like semi-pro, because back in the day, Brazil was just like MiBR and G3X actually got some money to play.
Right.
And everybody else, especially like us, we had the potential to be one of the top teams back in the day. But me, Zeus, all the players, we need to work, right? We can. The other players, they didn't have that problem. They can be just like in LANs, cafes, everywhere, and we need to work. And that's one thing that actually still affects nowadays CS:GO, because the environment that everybody grew up in Brazil. Nowadays is not this anymore. You have like internet and everything, but back in the day, everybody would go to like LANs, cafes, because the sponsor you would get back in the day is just like a LAN cafe that actually you could play for free there.
Right.
So, and it's a pandemic in Brazil. Every like corner used to have one. So you were the team representing this LAN cafe, the other team, the other place, and we would just like play non-stop 7 days a week against everybody. So in order to get there, get to like be recognized in the country, you need to first be the best team in your street. Then in your block because was so many teams, right? Okay. And that was really competitive scene in Brazil. But no,
what region did you come from, by the way? Because I know it was like very regionalized, like you're saying. Where in Brazil do you come from?
São Paulo.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was like pretty much the center of Brazil. Because you have like São Paulo as a state, and São Paulo is a really big state. So you have cities inside the state right there. And every city actually used to have one team like Fallen. He was for another city. He wasn't like for São Paulo, the capital for the state. And we have like teams from like Santos. There's like a really close city from São Paulo. And these qualifiers would get like really crazy. Just like 32 teams for like 2-3 spots for the finals. And shit would go really down to get like one spot. People traveling everywhere. Nobody even paying. Back in the day, everybody pay for getting tournaments, go to another cities, just for the fun and for the love of the game.
Since, as I said, you did play with Zews, who obviously is in MIBR, still with you. I mean, he actually even was recently just playing. He was at IAM Chicago. And I've noticed even when he plays in CSGO, when he's had to stand in, he still clearly knows something about the game, you know. Even when he can't kill people, he knows kind of how to be useful and help. Was he actually a good player in 1.6?
1.6, he was one of the best players in Brazil back in the day. And then we switched for Source, me and Zeus. We were the best team on Source in Brazil. He was the best player on Source in Brazil. In the beginning of the CSGO era, he was the best player in Brazil for CSGO.
Oh, impressive. Right, and I've got a question for you then. Since you referenced that, like how Fallen came up through the scene, right? Just like there's now a famous picture of coldzera where he's like a young guy meeting Fallen. There's pictures like that of Fallen when he's just a super young guy and he's coming up in the position. Did you know him when he was young?
Yeah.
First meet Fallen.
No, yeah. First time we met, because like this in Brazil, we used to play online like 24/7, and that was something good too. You used to have like on the internet, everybody used to have your team on the internet. It doesn't really necessarily is like on the same team you're playing online.
It's like a club or something, right?
Yeah, it was good because we had a chance to play like with better players, with different people, and you learn, right? And I remember we were playing against Fallen, and everybody thought back in the day he was cheating, right?
Okay.
And was one WCG, the final for the spot was over the internet, my team against his team. And we lost, but back in the day, like we were pretty good, and we didn't take the defeat that well. And we were like, they're cheating. I remember back in the day, even the organizer didn't like gave the invite for them, and then they went back up and gave the invite. But it was like, okay, but you guys gonna go by bus, and my team, okay, they qualify, gonna go by plane.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember we getting there, and everybody was wearing Zalen environment, right? So everybody's like, okay, now you need to do something, and they bump out the tournament. I even to this day I joke around with him. I was like, yeah, you went to that tournament? Well, just traveling, play 2 maps.
Just a little visit.
But he was grinding back then, like I would say 13 years ago, something like that. He was already like on the grind.
Okay.
Right. And Fallen actually came up, and the CSGO almost died in Brazil. So a lot of good players, and in Brazil was kind of hard for you to like actually break in the scene because everybody's on the top was kind of together. So players would be always that kind of same players, and CSGO just died in Brazil. So that's when like players like Fallen, a lot of players just like rose up from nowhere because they had the opportunity to.
When MIBR won ESWC, which obviously at the time was considered a major, it was like a world championship, did it have a big impact on the Brazilian scene?
Not that much, because CSGO was almost dying back then on that time. It wasn't
1.6.
really dead. Yeah, 1.6 wasn't really dead, but was like kind of going downhill, right?
Okay.
I remember when the like CPLs and all this stuff used to be a really splash. Even Brazilians make like top 6 because they would be good, but they wouldn't be like that good to be like top 1 back then. Yes. But they would be like kind of the same level of 4 Kings, this kind of teams, right? And I remember back in the day, it didn't have like even like streaming and all this stuff. Because the guys that were like playing on Dallas. They were like really close friends. We'd be practicing them like 24/7 on LANs, and we'd get like 50, 60 people to like a LAN cafe, and back in the day, you need to be doing like retry on the server. It's just like 100 slots, and like 40 PCs trying to do like retry at the same time. And once somebody just got in the server, everybody stops. 40 people's behind the PC just watching our friends playing, right? But it was amazing back then. I think the love for the game was kind of molded back then, and that's something that actually I think a lot of players lacking nowadays, because of course became a business, became like even fame, like social media. Back then we didn't have social media. The status for you would be like have your profile on Soul Game It.
Sure.
And change a lot. But yeah, Fallen was a guy that actually helped a lot, because he didn't just accept the fact that like 1.6 was that. So he kept the community like even trying hard. And one time he just switched for CSGO. He actually plays Force too. But one time he just switched for CSGO. He did like a team. They used to play like a lot of FPS games like Crossfire. Everything that actually they need to play, they play, because 1.6 wouldn't be like that many tournaments. 1.6 tournaments in Brazil would be like this. Okay, like I would like even myself. I did like some tournaments on CS:GO in Brazil. Apoca, the coach from ENTZ, he used to do a lot of tournaments in Brazil too. People would be like 32 teams. To pay the LAM is gonna be 2K. The rest is gonna be 730 and 720 and 10. Just come, show up, and play. And it would be like 64 teams playing. Was amazing back then.
When CSGO came around, one of the things, it's good, this is the weird thing about when you do interviews, is you have to also update people on like the recent history that to you and me we know, but they weren't around for. So if someone started watching CS in the last few years, they're going to think Brazil must always have been really good in CS. Like you guys have been at the top for so many years. But the crazy thing, obviously, about the rise of your team when it was Kaboom and Keyed and Luminosity is this team came out of basically nowhere. Like at the time, no one even knew we'd ever have a South American team that was good. So what were the early years of CSGO like in that sense?
Was rough, especially because it's not like okay, if people actually look at the scene nowadays, so like yeah, they have like qualifiers from like South America, everything. When we got like I remember went to like a ClutchCon, like a LAN, because they got the MLG Aspen invite, and after that I was like, okay, it's gonna be the Katowice major. You guys can go, but we're not gonna pay nothing. It's just the invite here. And back then the invite was like way more than everything we could ever dream.
Sure.
And they made like a crowdfunding with the community, doing like streams and other stuff. And even Flusha gave the rest of the money, and they were able to even show up. And then they show up. I remember they kind of shocked the world when they play against Cloud9, and they raped Cloud9 right there. And that's a funny thing, because people didn't realize like Mirage is the Brazilian map. Back then was even worse, and they got a chance to play like 3 or 4 Mirages. So yeah, they had one map. They could have played other maps, but their Mirage was like a lot of things ahead of everybody in the world, especially because nobody didn't even search about like how it is like a Brazilian team playing. So they made a splash in the world, and just like kept growing, and that's pretty much how we started, I think.
Since you were managing them when they were Luminosity, right, can you give us some insight into who was Luminosity at the time that they picked up this team? Because obviously now it's a much, much bigger org. I mean, obviously even Ninja from Fortnite's involved with them. So, you know, they've grown a lot since then. But who were they when actually Fallen and those guys joined the team? Like, how big an org was it? What was the setup like? I mean, the stories we hear back then of like everyone was living in like, you know, 2 people in one bed and stuff, and everyone's in one house. Like, what was it like in 2015?
Yeah. Okay. Let's start from the beginning, right? They were Kid Stars, and they made the major. I think the last major from them, Kid Stars. I know they played. The last one was the ESWC. Yeah, but they play they play Cologne, and the last tournament was ESWC on Canada, right?
Montreal.
Yeah. And I remember like we were getting kind of invites to join other orgs. I remember Tempo Storm was the first one.
Sure.
LG came to, and other small orgs they're not even like in the scene anymore. Winter Fox, one called Archon, something like that, if I recall.
I think that was one in an NA scene.
Yeah, and I remember like Tempest Star made an offer, LG made an offer too, but the problem with LG, they used to have a team already in the NA scene. Neff was in that team. Neff, Lex.
I think Devil Walk was even in it, maybe.
Devil
briefly.
Walk, yeah, Devil Walk. They were in that team, and for us, like, are you gonna have two teams? They're like, yeah, sure. And I remember in Cologne, we talked with Valve, and Valve said like, no, there's no team. So you guys need to let one go, and they let the NA team away. When we got there, it was really small org. Was, how can I say for you, like the CEO, the owner back then, like Steve. He was really involved because for us, CSGO was his passion back then, right? And he was really involved at sometimes even more than he should. Like even, oh no, this map, you know how like CEOs, owners are, right?
Sure.
But he was a nice guy for us. I think like we grew up. He as a person, 100% with him. I really love him. Like as a person, as a CEO, a owner, I think he did like a lot of mistakes. And some of mistakes even, you know, kind of got back to us and wasn't even our fault back then.
Okay. Right, obviously, if people, I'll give people the brief story. Like the interesting thing about the team back then around this time was they made it to all the majors that year, but every time it was always the same story. They'd win the best of ones, because at the time if you won 2 best of ones, you got to the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, whoever they played, they would just lose in the quarterfinals, which made sense because, like, to be fair, the majors were pretty stacked at the top level back then. Like, you know, the top 8 teams would pretty much always make the top 8 of the majors. So in this time period, one of the key moves, obviously, that started the transition to becoming a top team was managing to get coldzera into the squad. Right? Was he someone you already knew within the Brazilian scene? Like, was it more of a surprise that this player was picked?
Not really. Just one contest. We used to win a lot of best of ones, and unfortunately, every major we bumped out, we lost for the team that actually won the major. So we lost to Envy and we lost to VP. Right, so even though seems kind of like just lost a best of one, but we always like losing. That's actually one thing that actually keep us was like, okay, we're losing for the team that actually is the best in the world right now.
Right.
So
it wasn't as rough to lose to them then. Right.
Yeah, not at all. For Code, I remember ZQK left the team, and actually back in the day they used to have like Dexterity, like a team for coldzera, Taco, the Twins, and one more guy. He was good. He was putting numbers against people that actually was coming like abroad, like Kaboom. They used to like play with like top NA teams, go there, and coldzera dropping like 30 bombs, right? And everybody was like, okay, if one day we need somebody, probably gonna be this guy. And I remember ZQK left. Firm actually made the bridge, and everybody was like, is he really good? I don't know how it's gonna be on the scene. Here is way more competitive than like back then. And I remember like we end up like picking him up. I remember his org actually. He wasn't the org, but like in 2015 wasn't like this, like buyouts everywhere. Sure. And I remember his org was like, yeah, we want this. And we're like, come on, man. Like if you want to sue us, come here, American.
Sure. Yeah.
and by the time they asked us like $6,000, something like that. But okay. We couldn't even afford the 6,000, so that's why. Otherwise, we would. And I remember the first boot camp. They start playing on Europe. All the teams. I remember Fallen telling me. All the teams was like, "Hey man, where you find this guy? Where you found this guy?" And he made like an Insta splash on the scene. He is just that good. He is another level of player. For me, like watching from behind, he's the best player I ever saw play the game.
Sure. What about this then? Since, as you say, like the financial scenario at the time, I mean, for a lot of teams wasn't that great. You know, it was finally like the good salaries were just starting to come. Was it a big deal then to be able to get the sticker money from all these majors, etc.? For a team that's small, is that a big deal?
It was and it wasn't. Okay, the first major that we made like Kid Stars, and then LG. I was like, hey, you guys want to come us? But yeah, the contracts we have back then in Kid Stars was like nothing, right? So pretty much the contract was like $150 a month, but players would keep the $150 a month so they can have money to book camp if needed or travel if needed. And I remember LG came to us like, okay, but your contract, if you're gonna fight against this contract, it's gonna be easy to win. So I don't know, if you guys wanna come, do your thing. I remember the players end up like giving all this secret money for Kidstar so they could like go to LG and have like better, not even better salary in a sense, was just like a better opportunities here to grow here in the NA scenario, because Kidstars couldn't afford like more than like 4 months being here like in US. So they gave all this secret money for Kidstars in order to was like, okay, here this secret money, just let us go. The org was like, okay, you guys free to go.
Obviously, one of the key moments for this team was when you made the trade where you got FNX and Taco, and then Zeus came over as a coach. Right, people know the player side of that, but as I said, you already had a connection with Zeus. What was the reasoning as to why he was brought in as a coach? Because later in the story, obviously, your team generally has been pretty resistant to coaching to some degree and didn't want one for a long time. So what was the idea of bringing Zeus in?
They were actually, idea from me is like, since the beginning, all the teams I brought here, okay, for the first team, and that's one thing that actually you need to go back in the culture, the Brazilian culture. It's not like here in NA, that like a kid, he'll turn 18 and he can go like another place in the country, another state, study, and it'll be all good. The parents just say like, oh, thanks. Brazilians is very normal. Even if you find out nowadays, like 31, 32 years old, living with like your mom, and your mom is like protecting you till death. Okay. So it's not that easy to just like go. So when they came here for the first team, they had me, right? So I have my companies are working, but I'm still taking care of the kids, talking with like their parents, like, hey, everything's all right here. Don't worry about it. If you need something, just call directly to me. I will take care and all this stuff, right? When I think Neck, he left the team back then, he was the coach. Even back then, the guy's like, no, we don't want a coach. I was like, yeah, you guys need a coach, because now you guys are big traveling and all this stuff. I think Zeus can help you guys inside the game a lot, and he's still gonna be my eyes, because if she goes down, I'm gonna pay the price with your family. So you need to be at least one responsible one for you guys, and that's when everything starts. And I truly believe back then that Zeus could help them inside the game, which he did, and he could become like one really good coach, because he has like things that most of the people don't really evaluate nowadays in the scene. He understands the game, but a lot of people understand the game, but have the ability to put like pieces together and be have the environment like always good to like succeed. It's just a few people have this.
Okay. When you guys in the next year got to be a good team, and people started to make, like, I remember at MLG, actually, they were making like a little feature about you guys and about Fallen. And when a lot of this content got made is when people found out more about like the life situation where, like I said, you guys were all in one house you all lived in, and you had to live in America for a period of time to practice, etc. Was it tough conditions? Like, did people get homesick? Did people want to quit the team? Was there anything crazy like that?
No, to be honest, the video made worse than actually
made it look epic.
Yeah, look like a drama. Oh my God. Right. They have just 1 meal per day, but it's still champions of the world. No, it wasn't nothing close like this, right? The conditions was pretty much like this. I have my house. They asked to stay in my house. It's just me, my wife, and 2 dogs back then. And I used to live, even though I used to live like in a three rooms house back then. And it was like, hey, we don't have anywhere to stay. Can we stay there? I was like, guys, you guys can stay here, but it's gonna be 2 rooms for you guys for like 5 people. I'm gonna make my living room like a gaming house. Like, I'm gonna get computers for you guys, but I ain't gonna buy proper chairs, proper everything. Let's try to get together, with the sponsors, do something like that. And they came. And then, but the only thing I shared for them was like, okay, here, you guys going to be welcome. And we're going to do the most for you guys. Just achieve your dream. Be like a professional gamer and actually succeed on it. If has a future, because back then, nobody even would have guessed CSGO would have been bigger like this, right? So what we're living right now, what we actually lived in the past, was something that nobody even dreamed about it. It just happened. And the video was good because I remember, and then we got the GA project, right? When the other Brazilians came in. I remember we were talking, and my wife was watching like some YouTube videos from Henny and Lucas, and they're really funny. And I remember the neighbor that used to live in front of me, she came at me, I was like, hey, the house is gonna be vacant. Are you interested? I was like, no, I already have my house. Why? You know, like, why I would be interested? And actually they fallen, and my wife came up with an idea to bring in them. And I was like, straightforward. It's like, hey, this is not gonna work. I can't take care about like my family, other 5 families and other 6 families. Sure. It's just too much. I was like, no, we're gonna help and all this stuff. So they end up like coming, and we actually, the LG changed for the house in front. Back in the day, LG started like, you know, helping to like for food and all this stuff. And for the GA program, it was just like me, pretty much. So, and we started from the bottom, and everybody got up. LG, the GA boys, I think they went to Tempest Prime and then Morals. And for us, LG to SK, and now MiBR.
One thing I want to ask about in this interview as well is like, give me some insight on Brazilian culture as it has interacted with people who aren't from Brazil who are in CSGO. So one of the reasons why I knew basically I would always have a lot of haters in Brazil is because I followed 1.6, and I remember anytime there was any dispute there, like there was a famous one at World Cyber Games a long time ago where Team 3D like you know, use some rules to kind of like screw over the team and win rounds. You know, I remember anytime this would happen, if you went on like Gotfrag or whatever the sites were back then, it was just like a sea of Brazilian flags and comments, and you know, like a lot of it, as you'd expect, especially back then, was like everyone just talked shit on the internet. You know, there weren't the same rules, etc. But in CS:GO, because you guys were the underdogs and everyone was actually pulling for you at the time when you guys were on the way up, you know, because it's a cool start. It's like ENCE when they came up last year, you know, like everyone likes and so no, there wasn't. Listen, mate, there weren't. I almost never saw any rude comments. But the second you guys finished second to that DreamHack and then became really good, I even told Richard, if you go back and watch like the By the Numbers episode, I told him like, just get ready because they're coming. Like the Brazilian fans are coming. If you've ever watched MMA, if you've ever watched football, they're coming, and they did. But here's one of the things I wanted to ask. So listen, obviously I'm someone who likes to trash talk. I think it's funny if people make comments. But one thing I always found weird is, on the one hand, the way that Brazilians trash talk is they always themselves try to make it like, hey man, I'm from the favela, like, you know, I live a hard life, like I'll fuck you up. But then if you say they're from a favela, they get really offended, like, how dare you assume I'm from the... Why is that like, why is kind of the macho aspect still a thing in Brazil? What's the culture like in that sense to us? Explain it to foreigners. It's
kind of weird, like, okay, we are the most popular Brazilian team, probably on esports. We actually, it's good for one point, and it's really bad for another point. If you're doing good, it's the best like community you want to have in your back, because they're literally like soldiers. They're gonna defend you to the death, right?
Sure.
Yeah. If you're doing bad, like lately we were doing bad, oh my gosh. If you guys think like you guys get like trash talk from them, imagine us. And that's like a historical thing in Brazil. It's like you said, all Brazilians, they think like they are the only one that have rights to actually trash themselves, right? But if you dare to do, who you think you are to actually say something about Brazil? The same guy, it's funny, sometimes you see even the comments, the same guy that actually came to my profile and said like, hey, you guys are fucking shit and this and this and this, you guys should die. It'll be the guy that actually, if you're gonna do like, if you tweet out like, hey, MiBR is doing really bad, I think they're done. The same guy that actually went to my profile to trash talk me, gonna be like, who you think you are to talk shit about them?
Right, he defends you then.
Yeah, it is like this. It's like a culture thing, and helps in Brazil. That's one thing that's really different from a lot of places that I know in the world. Like, okay, here in America, a team does really good and gets second. People are going to evaluate it like, okay, they have a really good performance. Sure, they're second. In Brazil, there's no second place. In Brazil, it's like even the F1 driver, Ayrton Senna back then, he kind of helped in this mentality, because he came like on a really big interview and said, for me, being second doesn't mean nothing. It's just being the first of the losers.
Yes.
You know, and so they have like this mentality. Even before we even broke the scene, I remember we got like two top seconds place before, and people look at the that's something that blows my mind back then. You look at the big scheme of things, right? None of the Brazilian team ever did shit on the scene. We got top 2 and top 2. People started bashing like, oh yeah, that's the only thing they can do at top 2. You know?
You were losing to pretty good teams as well, like FNATIC, Navi, the best teams in the world.
Yeah, we were like, gosh, because the first one, you're probably gonna see like this with Furia. There used to be LG as well, like Immortals. If they're not expecting you to do something, you're gonna do it. I was like, oh yeah, they're the best. They're the new future. Oh, we are Brazilians, and this. Well, when the time kind of settles and everything goes normal, of course they're not gonna win all the tournaments. Of course, everybody's gonna have really bad results sometime. They're shit. Oh yeah, and bring some guy from Brazil that nobody knows, but he's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that's the kind of things you need to deal with. The Brazilian culture is good and it's bad, but one thing nobody can deny, and even us, and we are at the place. I would say for you, we are the most popular team on CS:GO in the world right now. I have like a lot of numbers to actually back me up on this. And there's not just like Brazilians. We get the measures and all the stuff. Of course, Brazilians play a really big part on this, but we have a lot of fans outside Brazil. And that's one thing we started realizing when we became LG on the roles. And when we switched to SK, we started, you know, like not be more marketable, because we know most of the people doesn't speak English. Our region actually going to support us, not going to bring that much revenue. Back then, nowadays, they bring a lot of revenue. And we need to open the markets for us. And that's it's being our philosophy right now. And you're going to get players that are a little bit smarter than others, like Fall, and even coldzera didn't really work that much. He was just so good, and people tend to be really big when they're really good. That's just the way it is, right? He could be way more bigger than he actually is if he actually work on his image, like Fallen did, right?
Yeah.
And we started doing this, and then we got really big. Of course, being like dominant, have like a really dominance 2 years in a row almost, really helped. But my players actually is the kind of players that a lot of people hate because they're winning. A lot of people hate because they're doing like sometimes I agree with them, stupid shit. But in the end of the day, they are likable. They are markable. They're gonna be the kind of guys that we have a huge like signing session. They're gonna be there until the end. Doesn't really matter if like our time is done. No, we're gonna get everybody. So we try to do this and open markets for us. Because I don't want to be another VP, of course, but I think being the image VP we like good players can really like skyrocket your image and all your legacy.
Sure. Because one reason I ask about that, and I brought up the point that it was actually the Brazilians who taught us all what the word favela was. Most of us didn't even know what that term was unless you saw like a Tropa de Elite or some movie that was from Brazil, basically. Well, one of the questions I wanted to ask was, anyone who goes on hltv.org, the main community website in Counter-Strike, every team gets hate. I mean, we all know the threads like Navi fans come here, you know, and it's just everyone bashing on them. And everyone gets hate. But because of this like thing of the way the Brazilian fans talk shit, that's the way I noticed all the HLTV type people would always attack the Brazilian players. They'd be like, you're just favelas, obviously calling people monkeys and stuff. Yeah. And this became like kind of like a thing where just every time Brazilians were mentioned, these comments would be there, even if it wasn't that, you know, the team had done anything wrong or whatever. Did you actually feel as though there was like bias against Brazilians in the international community?
No, I would do the same thing. It's the only community that's like really every time they're doing this. So it's like when we're doing bad, it's payback time.
We are consistent, I'll give them that.
When we're doing bad, it's payback time. And actually, if you do good, it's going to pay back time for them too. It's like, that's just how it is. I don't see, I really laugh about it, a lot of things right there. And even for Brazilians, I don't think because Brazilian has this mentality, okay, I'm going to make fun of everything, right? So I don't think Brazilians, okay, if you're going to do something like that somebody think is like racist against Brazilians doesn't really care about it that much, but they were gonna make a big thing just to try to screw you up because you're being the racist, right?
Sure.
And
well, actually, this is something I want to ask specifically about, because obviously part of the story, there's no point hiding it, we're both in the call, is I actually had this incident myself, obviously, where I made that joke on Twitter, where I replied to Smix, and even though her joke had nothing to do with that, I made the joke about Luminosity, and I even think the way I phrased it wasn't actually that funny, to be fair. It wasn't even that good a joke, but it was just one of those stupid ones you throw out there, and understandably, if I was working in an event and someone who worked for the event said a joke like that, I'd probably be annoyed. I'd probably at least either personally, I'd probably make a public comment. But, you know, the way you guys handled it was you went to MLG and you told them, like, you know, this is unacceptable. Like, can we talk about this, etc. What was the impact of that like? Like, was that a big deal in the moment?
I think, like, for the major, if it would be just us as players right there, wouldn't be nothing, you know. Just would it be I would actually get this. I use like a kind of fire to pump them up and actually win and prove you wrong. The problem right there, I think the only player that got really upset is it was FNATIC back then. Okay. But the problem, that people got upset because families were there and the families got offended.
Right.
And that's why, like, because the players at the major, don't get me wrong, you're doing tweet, people like just focus in the game, watching games, doing this. People just, you know, like go buys. And people are not like, when you play in a major, the only thing you don't want to do is fight against somebody, right? Yeah. So because like our families got upset, that's why we came to MLG. I think was a little bit out of the line. That's my POV on it. But I can't control what you say. I think I did a lot of stupid like things in the past. The only thing I can control is like the upset they're actually gonna come to me, and I think is the only thing you could do at the time. You know, like we actually told MLG. MLG actually was good because would it be like other tournaments? Would it be like yeah, we're gonna do this. Besides doing like, you know, like a clown fiesta right there on social media. We came directly to the tournament. The tournament, I remember, got us, and you explain what you meant or not meant. Say, like, apologize for this. Yeah, we just move on. But of course, for us, it's in the past. But for the Brazilian fans, I mean,
yeah,
you know really well. You know really well. I know that shit works. I was gonna be there, you know, because people that actually wanna pick on you, they're always gonna find something that actually
it's the obvious thing to go with. It makes sense as a tactic. The thing I would say about that is, like, first of all, obviously on that day I apologized to you guys in person, and I did a tweet actually in Portuguese saying it, but I'll just reiterate for anyone who isn't aware, to any of the Luminosity members at the time, I apologize for that joke. It was off color, probably shouldn't have made it. But here's what I would say. The interesting thing to me is what you described earlier, actually, which is what you told me at the time in person, which is, I remember saying, because you guys were like, why target us? Because to be fair, obviously I'd never like had any problems with your players really. And basically you guys told me, because I said like, well, look, all your fans are always attacking me and like you never say anything. And then you guys said basically, it's just as bad for us. If we lose the game, they're attacking us like they attack you. And actually in that moment, that was actually a key moment for me, because it made me realize you should always separate a team and its fans, because the team can't control what fans do. And plus, you never know what fan base you're from. Some fans are really nice, some fans are crazy. You never know. It's just the way it is. So going forwards with that then, obviously, you guys did manage to win this major. This was a really, really key moment because it was the first big tournament that this lineup had won. Does winning the major like that change everything? If you'd have come second, if you come third, would it have still been quite similar? Does actually winning matter more in that sense?
Of course, for your morale, yeah. But every like season we start, I see with the guys when we do like, we're kind of trying to do what we want, what we can achieve, and what is possible, and what is like a bonus, right?
Okay.
I remember before the major, we sat together, it's like, okay, we're going like up. Let's put, we need to do like a top 4 on this major, and Cologne, we need to win 100%. That's our major. That like we're gonna go there, we're gonna be prepared, and we're gonna win, like being the best team in the world. Like nobody can even think about other team winning this major besides us. That was the line we drew. We draw back then. I remember we played a major. Was alright. Was kind of normal. The first match we played against NIP on Mirage, if I'm not wrong, and then we played like some other teams that wasn't that really good, but the teams that actually were beatables, right? So okay, NIP back then was a team that was like, okay, this is gonna be the first one, and it was like GSL. So losing the first one could get like serious troubles and for the rest, right? And every major is the same thing. Our goal become legends again. I think we are 10 times in a row, something like that. It's always become legends, whatever. And then when we became legends, okay, there's a new tournament. Let's move on and see what we can achieve here. I don't remember we play.
I think you played Virtus Pro in the quarterfinals, and then it was Team Liquid.
2-1. Was 2-1.
Yeah, they were the only ones who won a map.
Yeah, and then we play Liquid, and that major was weird because I remember Navi lost for somebody on those two, and they actually screw up the whole group. What they have was like a really huge upset. So everything was like, of course, when you look at the brackets, you see like, hey, these two teams, these two teams, these two teams, these two teams. Sure. That's the teams actually go through. And I think Navi lost and made like a huge upset.
Yeah, I know you guys got like on paper the easier side of the bracket.
Yeah, and we were like, awesome, that's everything we needed, right? No, it's not our fault. And I remember that another thing happens in the group, SK back then, they lost to Vexit, and the teams actually top up the group was CLG and Spice. And for us, like, oh, everything is getting like awesome for us. Let's just, like leave the momentum and see where we can get it. And I remember after all the teams, they were doing like was pretty much like they were picking like a name and see whoever gonna play against. Wasn't like seeding and all this stuff. And I remember we got I don't know if it was
VP.
We got VP. And I remember because FNATIC and I don't know, it was TSM or question mark back then.
I think they were TSM at this point in time.
Yeah.
No, Astralis, sorry, Astralis, yeah.
Yeah, but the guys from Astralis, but back then they were TSM, something like that. And I remember they got really upset because they pulled up FNATIC and they had like a chance to go like further in the tournament, and they got the best team like right there because of like their random draw, right? So we play against them, and our bracket was like, we knew it would be Liquid or CLG. We were like, oh, it's Liquid. I was like, gosh, guys, we might gonna go to the finals here. We have a really big chance to go to the finals. And then when we did like the comebacks against Liquid, it was like, yeah, this major is just ours. That's impossible to just take away. Yeah.
Because that's one thing I think people from the outside don't understand. Is like, I've talked to you guys before. You guys know how crazy that comeback was. Like, obviously, even the coldzera shot was mad lucky, and all crazy things. Like, everything had to go perfect pretty much, right?
Yeah, but like, when he did that shot, people like in the team asking me, because like people just saying like after the round, nobody even realized, because I think just Fair was dead in the game, and nobody was even watching like his screen. I remember people saying like, hey, Code was like, guys, you guys not gonna believe, but I did some crazy shit here. And in the middle of the game after the round, and the guy's like, okay, keep it up, let's go. When you actually saw this, we were like, gosh, what the heck you just did? Like, it's impossible to do it. And so like, I told you guys, was a crazy shit. And just happened. If I'm gonna say like, oh yeah, everything I don't know, that's impossible to justify a play like this not being lucky, right? It was just everything like right there at the right time, at the right place, everything combined to make like a great play, the most iconic plays, especially because it was in a major.
Sure. But
it just happened, like there's no explanation for things, just happen. Some people say Jesus, some people say like, I don't know, energy. I don't know. For me, it was just everything happening at the same time, at the same moment, that actually help us to get like the major.
Sure. One of the reasons I asked about like, what did it change to win the major, etc., is obviously after this major, it wasn't long after that you had this move where you guys went and over to SK Gaming. But it's not as simple as that. It's not like one day there was just an announcement, right? We've transferred, we're in SK Gaming. If everyone remembers, there was this really weird scenario where all the news was leaked, like they're going to SK Gaming, it's a done deal, the contracts are signed and stuff. And then all of a sudden, because you guys had just won the major, there was this other story coming out that like, no, Luminosity Luminosity's going to keep them. Like, they've got more money now. They've done like a deal with them. And obviously, at the time, the only person for your team who really used to speak to the English community was Fallen, and he made like twit longers, and he tried to explain himself. And famously, this is one of the incidents where I made like videos where I kind of tried. The gist of the video was basically like, I think Fallen was being a bit of a politician, you know? He was trying to make it sound like one way, but then if you looked at the evidence, like as far as I could tell, almost everyone except Fallen wanted to go to SK, and for some reason Fallen wanted to stay in Luminosity. Maybe he was in a relationship with the Booyaka guy, I don't know. Can you give us some insight? What was going on in that scenario? It seems like a very messy situation.
Yeah, okay, so we end up, the last tournament previous the major was like a one ESL we played here.
Kind of Vita, I think.
No, we played the last one, I think, ESL, because Taco, FNX, and Zeus was already in the team, right?
That was a few months before. That was the Pro League.
Before the major, yeah, the Pro League here in Burbank. Back then, when we started talking, if a lot of like orgs came to us to actually get us.
Sure.
So I remember like Conquest, the guy that actually used to be the owner of his King Arena, something like that. He came to us, we even met with us in Germany. Optic, we talked with Optic back then. We talked a lot of orgs, and we were TSM, and we were always like, okay, talk with Steve. And the orgs would come to us like, hey, but you guys have like what, 6 months left in the contract? He's asking a lot of money. And we were like, okay, let's talk with him. And that's one thing. After the one that actually got back to us doing like a time frame, I remember even with Sue and ZQK were in the team, we played on Columbus, right? For the Civo. Civo. VP won that one, if I'm not wrong. We lost 2 games for Titan, the tournament.
Sure.
I remember we used to go to the majors, and every like European team was like, hey, you guys are legends. Because being legends back then would have meant way more than nowadays, right? You guys are legends. How come you guys getting like $800? All the European teams here already get like 3K euros, 2K euros. We're like, oh, yeah, let's talk. Let's talk with the guy. And I remember we got back to him, and he's like, guys, you guys like come from like a region that we don't have like the revenue on the region. He pretty much sounded like he was helping us and we are helping them, right? And from my point of view, back then was like, maybe this guy is right, and maybe this guy is just like, okay, it's good for him, good for us.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, we just won a major. When we won a major, the first thing we did, well, celebrate, took pictures, went to the room, was like, hey, we're leaving, right? Because in December, the major was in April 7th, if I'm not wrong. The major was in April, but we were talking with them a lot back then. I was like, hey, we might gonna leave, how are we gonna be, how it's gonna be, and put in contest. Even with FNX, Taco, and Zeus got in the team, they didn't get a salary. Was the kind of like, oh yeah, we're gonna see it, this. Okay, out of we signed like a binding. Yeah, that's true. Well, I remember back in the day it was true. We signed like a binding, but we went to our lawyers like, hey, we signed this. Yeah, doesn't mean nothing, because on the binding he actually lost us. Wasn't like something like he couldn't control, because we signed like a binding term, and he needed to like even pay the guys within 30 days.
Right.
3 months went by, nothing. And okay, let's and SK and other orgs came to us. It was like, okay, we're going to SK. And then we start talking all this stuff. And then came the things like, okay, in the last very minute, Fallen gave the statement, and he actually damaged a lot his image on this, but it wasn't his fault at all. But you know how players are. Sometimes they're just like impulsive, or they think they're doing the right thing before even asking somebody.
Sure.
And I mean, back then, I even told Fallen, I don't know if you're gonna come back from this. You're beating like a really great thing here. I don't know if you're gonna come back from this as your image. And he's all like, what is done is done. I'm just gonna face the consequences. If I get more trophies, they might, I don't know, forgive me. And yeah. And I think that's what happened. Of course, it's going to be like a meme, like every time, like two-faced Toledo, whatever.
Sure.
But people just, it's been 4 years now, so just move on and see. But it was like a really bad thing. And LG was a lot of controversy with us because happened this, then the E-League episode, and well, it was a really, really bad end of the contract right there.
Sure. After this, obviously the team went on, and actually what you described, the earlier plan, came perfect. I mean, actually, the funny thing is, if you think about it, if you didn't win the game against Team Liquid, the plan would have been exactly right. You would have been top 4, then you would have finally been the best at Cologne, won it completely in dominant fashion. So the plan worked. Like, you did hit the high point where you were the clear #1 in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah. But even for us, that's when we won the first major. I remember we got together saying like, oh yeah, we won the major and all this stuff. It was funny because I remember like, I don't know who come up, guys, we just won the major. It's the first one, $500,000 one. And one guy from the back is like, no, you guys got to pay tax here. It's like 20% less. We were like, okay. And then I remember after the meeting we had and all this stuff, I was like, guys, go celebrate today. Because today, we are the best team in the world. Tomorrow, we are not. We need to start grinding back because now is going to be the hard part, right? So that's what we did. We started grinding. And unfortunately, we went to Malmo and we lost to Tyloo. Yeah. And that was like, if you're going to look back in the past, was good because people actually won the majors like, oh yeah, we're in the top of the world. And I don't consider them winning. I mean, let me consider, yes, winning that major was a fluke because the way we won the major, like with jumping shots, comebacks left and right, it's not supposed to happen, but sometimes it just happen, right? Sometimes you're going to win tournaments that are not supposed to. Sometimes you're going to lose tournaments that we're not supposed to.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was a fluke. I don't call a really big fluke, but it was a fluke back then. And we lost to Tyloo, and then all the mentality kind of reset. It was like, okay, we won the major, but we were really the best team that were for one night. So we need to go back. And then when like kind of thoughts started like getting to everybody to not like just be a winning team, to have a legacy. And we saw the scene back then. That actually was possible to make a legacy because the team was falling apart. And it was just us and Navi back then. FNATIC, we never had the chance to play against them after the major. They were okay, but we knew they were going like ups and downs. And they eventually would have like broke anyway. So our biggest contender back then was Navi for the short period of life, like after the first major. And then the other teams started getting back. And for the second major, I remember we were in the like group of death because G2 was a team that we lost.
ECS.
We lost ECS in the finals, and they won without giving us a chance. I remember talking with the guys, and FNX, the guy I didn't even was expecting. I was like, "Hey, what happened in the game?" He's like, "They were just better than us. We'll get next time." And I was like, oh, if FNX said that, everybody's really good. So let's just move on.
Okay. One thing that's interesting, actually, about the Cologne major that everyone forgets because they just people look at the results that happened and they always think like, oh, that team would always win this match. You know, it had to happen that way. But I always thought the one detail that could have been more perfect about the Cologne major is if Simple didn't win that game against FNATIC, you would have got to play FNATIC, who you'd never been, in the final of the major. That would be the perfect storyline, because obviously you guys never really got to play them when they were at their best, when you were at your best.
That was rough for us. You have no idea how we were cheering for FNATIC. We were like, we need to get FNATIC. We need to get FNATIC. Even though we knew they were like in the verge to broke right there, to break up right there. But we're like, they need to go down in the history by our hand.
Yes.
You know, like, because we suffer a lot against them. And we pretty much picked up like their legacy to start our legacies, right? So right there would be like, here is the last nail in the coffin for you guys. Boom. Yes. Break up, right? But they lost. And I remember they were like so up in the game. We were like, yeah, we're going to get FNATIC. We're going to get FNATIC.
Sure.
By the time, of course, it's a major win. Now it's going to count as a major win. But if it would be against FNATIC, for our storyline, it would be so better. But yeah, in the end of the day, we got Liquid. We won 2 like pretty easy matches, and that's it. But yeah, it would be really fun if you get FNATIC.
Since you said earlier, like, just as, you know, you can have a run like Columbus where maybe it wasn't supposed to happen, but it does, you can have the opposite happen as well, obviously. Like, you can be the best team and you can lose, because The thing I always think was strange after this period of winning the majors, where you guys were the clear number one, is you never had any bad results. Like, it was always semi-finals or finals. You nearly always were losing to like teams winning the tournament. It was always close. It was always epic matches. But since you said earlier, if you even come second, fans are sort of hating on you. This must have been a rough period because it was a lot of tournaments in a row where it was semis, finals, semi-finals.
You mean the period after the major?
Yeah.
The Cologne? Okay, so after Cologne major, I think we play. Okay, the E-League that we didn't play, we would have won 100%. 100%. There's no chance we'd have lost. It was a FNATIC MVP in the finals, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. We'd have won that really, 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 because we just got that notice that they were like blocking us to play. After the game we play against FaZe, they actually would destroy them. And they were like not the FaZe we have nowadays. They were way different, but they were a good team. They were a good team back then. They were like making waves here and there. And we were just like, after this match, hey, nobody even told us from E-League. They just tweeted out. We found out by Twitter that we are not going to be able to play the tournament, even though we qualified first. And really, like, our bracket was like Cloud9, Renegades, and TSM, and we qualified really easy there. And we were kind of upset, but it was like just like move on. And then we played some tournaments after Cologne, and at least top 4, always top 4. That was like, in our not peak, but in our, I would say, like legacy era, or you can call always top 4. And that's what when I see eras like Astralis, FNATIC, even Liquid right now, they don't have an era yet, but if they win the major, they may be going to start having something, because the time frame is a little bit different than it was. That you don't have that much people playing all the tournaments. Top 4 was like, at least we were gonna get it. And I remember the really break us was the EPL losing to Cloud9 after one comeback on overpass.
Sure.
That was like
in Brazil.
Yeah, we just too much. Just too much. And we kind of broke right there. And then we play another Epicenter. And it was the last tournament FNX play. And then we got Fox for the major. And we play ECS year finals. We made a top 4 with Fox.
Yeah.
ECS and the major. And then we just got Phelps.
So I've got to ask about the FNX topic, because this is the thing I wanted to ask was, because I've never heard anyone address this aspect. When you said before about what zews was doing when he was the coach in the team, well, if people remember, zews left after the second major. That's when he went off, and for whatever reason, he tried to be a player again in Immortals and didn't work out that well, but whatever. We'll ignore that part. And at this point in time, you had no coach. Obviously, when people win, their egos get big. People think I'm the best. Sometimes you get problems like, I don't know, someone doesn't want to practice as much, or they're not as dedicated, or maybe they don't think they have to. Was some of these the things affecting FNX?
No, unfortunately, like FNX is not. He doesn't suffer from ego. If you're gonna say like ego, like I think I'm the best, because he knew his place on the team. You have a team with Fur, coldzera, Fallen. No, you're not gonna be the best, but you can be the best in what we do, right? Sure. Of course, FNX kind of closer, and he was one of the best for sure.
Sure.
It's not ego. People think that most of these Brazilian players, they came from really not poverty, because that's too much, but they didn't have like that much conditions to be like. I would say for you like lower mid class, right?
Okay.
When they get a little bit of money, they pretty much think they're done. They're like, there's two difference between people, and sometimes Brazilians. One part, they think like, I accomplished this much is more than I could ever dream about it, right? And that's the other, and that's the other part. I was like, I accomplished this much, and I can accomplish way more than this.
Yes, ambition.
Right? Yeah, FNX was just a guy that was like, priorities. The game didn't become like his priorities anymore. I think his friends actually made look for him that actually he was better as an individual than as a unit. and he just kind of gave up as well. So wasn't something like, oh my, came from nowhere. He kind of gave up, and he gave up on himself first, then we gave up on him. So it was just like, in the end, I was like, he went this path. We know we don't have even the will inside of you to actually grind like we're probably gonna be grinding right now. So I'm sorry, you need to leave.
Is it true that SK actually asked Fox to join as a permanent member?
No. Never. Roster change, especially back on SK, we are entitled to do like any things we can do it. Fox, and for all the players, that's especially my part of my job. I try to be really clear. I told Fox, hey, you're coming. We need you for 2 tournaments, the major, right? We're not playing the major. We speak Portuguese, so it'll be good.
Sure.
We don't have high expectations. Our expectations is like top 4 because we always do top 4, and that's what like I think like I have 4 players capable to do it. If we can do top 4, but you're not staying. And actually, Fox, I remember talking. He was a key factor actually to try to help us with ideas for the new player, because back then I remember we had Boltz, Lucas, and Phelps. And we were talking between these 3 names, which one we should get. And Fox had a say because he was in the team. He had a say in the team, right? So he helped us too. But he knew he never would be here. First, because back then he was about to have his child.
Sure.
And he couldn't even be here in US. I mean, if he actually presented himself as a possibility, we might have think about it. But I don't think would have come through anyway.
Okay. That was part 1 of my Reflections interview with Dead. In part 2, which will be coming up tomorrow, he discusses the 2 different Phelps eras, which obviously sandwiched the period when they had Boltz. Obviously, they were unable to win majors during this period of time, but still were contenders. And then we talk about coldzera potentially leaving the squad in the future, the moves they've made now, what's happened to Fallen as a leader, who has fallen to him. So come back if you want to see that. This video was kindly supported by Patrick Ribeiro, Penguin Off 9, Dean Tanglis, Andreas Snazor Westerland, Fat Guy got 24 ADR in an online qualifier, Lee Chao Lan, Blunt Smoking Anus Destroyer, J-Dubs, Ho Chi Mao, Tobias Bernasconi, Nate DOGG, Alexander Rao, Collier G, and as always, special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion. Now, do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for some of my content? Obviously, I have quite a varied output. Do you want to ask me a question for my monthly video AMA? Maybe you want teasers, see who the guests are on my next shows. Do you want to take part in a donator discussion with me about esports? Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Scrilluminati today. In the description box below, there's a Patreon link.